and welcome to the Gabriel Company Show. My name is Gabriel Company. Today, I have a special guest to interview. He is a speaker, a human behavior specialist. He has written over more than 50 books. He was part of the Secret movie. He changes people's lives. His name is Dr. John Demartini. Hi, welcome to the show, Dr. John Demartini. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Many people know what you do, but I am curious. What are your hobbies?
I'm probably pretty dull to some people. I basically research, write, travel, and teach. I love to read, I love to write, I love to travel, and I love teaching. Those are my main hobbies. But I am going to actually, on my 65th birthday coming up in November, I'm going to go surfing.
Oh.
And I've done a little bit of tennis, and I do a little bit of yoga, but most of the time I'm researching, writing, traveling, and teaching. That's what I love most.
Wow, all of your hobbies are fantastic, especially reading, because I like reading as well. I remember when I was in primary school, my mom and I, we used to take the train to go to school, and we read books. One of the books we read was Rich Dad and Poor Dad from Robert Kiyosaki.
Yes.
It was a really good book.
It is a great book.
Yeah.
It's made a difference in a lot of people's lives.
Wow, you look very elegant. Do you always wear a suit?
Yes, even when I'm not wearing a suit, I'm in a suit sometimes, a birthday suit.
Yeah, wearing suits, if they feel nice and cool. But the most important is how we feel when we wear them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When I was 23 years old, I had an opportunity to get a job at a suit salesman, as a suit salesman for a department store. And I really can't say that I wore a lot of suits before that, occasionally.
But now you do.
But after that, I watched the difference that it made in my behavior and in people's reactions to me. And from that day on, I decided I'm going to make that my brand. I'm going to wear a nice suit. And this is a blessing because my daughter's a fashion designer and she makes my suits. So I get to help my daughter and I get to have lovely clothes that my daughter designs.
Well, you're very lucky for that.
I am very blessed.
Why is it important to dress up for success?
Well, I think it's wise to dress according to what you're attempting to fulfill and accomplish. I do believe that the way you present yourself can have an impact and help or hinder your objectives. So you might as well wear the things that you're inspired by, that make you feel special, that make you feel more confident, and also ones that match the image that people, so you're not working against you.
Yeah.
That way people see things on the way, not in the way of your objectives. So I think it's selecting. But if I'm doing something, if I was in sports, I'd probably wear not a suit all the time. I'd probably wear the outfits that match the sport. But because I'm a professional speaker and because I'm a writer, most of the time, and also because I travel, most of the time a suit is the most efficient thing to pack and travel with.
Yeah, it's true. Example, like, when you dress up, it's like a message. It's like a code to other people, like what you said. So when you go into a job or interview, you gotta wear a suit because it's respect to other people. However, some people might judge you, and they could be wrong. There's a saying, never judge the book by its cover.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting. I was 14 years old, and I was hitchhiking from Houston, Texas to California.
Wow.
And down into Mexico. And I got stopped in El Paso, Texas. And a man I met on the street there, who I didn't know who he was at the time, but he ended up taking me to a library and telling me, and sat me down at a library. And he said, "Young man, I want to teach you two things." He says, number one, never judge a book by its cover, because it will fool you. And he says, that's because you probably look at me as some old guy in the street, but I'm one of the wealthiest men in the world. I have everything that money can buy. I have ships and planes and businesses and cars and homes. So never judge a book by its cover, it'll fool you. And then he took my right hand and he stuck it on top of two books that he'd gotten from the shelves, which was Plato and Aristotle, the Greek philosophers. And he says, you learn how to read, boy, because there's only two things they can never take away from you, and that is your love and your wisdom. So you gain the wisdom of love and the love of wisdom. I really do believe that later impacted me and probably why I love to read so much. because I figured that I better dedicate my life to love and wisdom. So this gentleman turned out to be Howard Hughes. So he was the magnate that was a wealthy man at the time. I just happened to run into him. He happened to be in El Paso with an El Paso Natural Gas doing a deal for a brewery he was developing. I just happened to be at the right place at the right time to meet the right person to hear the right message. And so that has filtered into my life and stayed with me ever since.
Oh, wise guy.
Yeah. So judging a book by its cover can be fool.
Yeah. The tennis player, Roger Federer, what he says was we must wear clothes, not clothes wear us. What he means by that is that we must wear clothes with attitude.
I think that each of us have our own character, and when we find that right mix of casually smart or professional or whatever we're wearing that matches it, it brings out our magnificence.
Yeah.
And I think that that's the beauty of the art of fashion, that there's something that matches it. I have a friend that he doesn't wear suits. He wears a certain type of very unique clothes and color mixtures and stuff. But he's like, when you know him, you see him, this is his image. And he has a major franchise of sandwich shops around the world, around America particularly. And but you just look at him and you go, that's the match for his mission.
Yeah.
And when you see people that are congruent like that, you can see that it enhances the momentum building of their achievements.
What is the main challenge that people are facing in life right now?
I think that everybody, if they don't give themselves permission to be authentic, and they don't give themselves permission to be themselves, and they try to fit in instead of standing out, I think this clouds the clarity of their own calling and mission in life and shrinks them instead allows them to shine. And many people are comparing themselves to others instead of comparing their daily actions to their own dreams. And they're living vicariously through other people's brands instead of building their own brand. And I don't think that we need to put people on pedestals or pits. I think we need to put them in our hearts. And that way we can do something we love with the people we love. And I think that we need to give ourselves permission to be the magnificence that we are. The magnificence that we are is far greater than any fantasies we might impose on ourselves trying to be somebody we're not.
Yeah, many people, they try to be someone else. For example, if I try to be one of the most famous soccer players, I can't because I'm not like them. I have to be myself, you know?
Well, you're a great entrepreneur in the making, and also now a TV star. So, but you also love soccer a bit.
Yeah.
But that's like me. I love surfing. I'm going surfing in November in the North Shore of Oahu, where I used to live and surf. I'm not planning on doing that professionally anymore, but I'm going to do it because I made a goal when I was 16 to ride big waves on my 65th birthday.
Yeah, many people, they don't have a purpose. They have different ideas, but they don't know what they want to do, you know, because of lack of clarity.
Exactly. Everybody has a set of priorities, a set of values that their life is demonstrating. And their life demonstrates it, but they're not always conscious of it because they're comparing themselves to other people and thinking, I should be doing this, I ought to be doing this, I'm supposed to be doing this. And they're trying to fit in instead of stand out. But deep inside, the highest value, the thing that's most meaningful and most inspiring to us is the expression in the pathway of our purpose. And giving ourselves permission to go down that path and filling our day with high priority actions, the things that are most important in our life on a daily basis, that awakens our forebrain and allows us to have a momentum building achievements and expands us. So it's so important to give ourselves permission to fill our day with really the things that are most meaningful and priority to us. I remember there was a young boy in Brisbane who was 16, and he wanted to do his video games and wanted to do his software development and was practicing in that. And his mother came from a different era and she didn't understand these computers. And she was he's 16 and she was single and she didn't have a husband and she needed him to work. So you need to go out and get a job. And she was projecting her last generation's ideas onto him. And she asked me to consult with him, the 16-year-old young man. And when I went in there to talk with him, I could see that he was really engaged in his video games. And I said, so you love video games? He goes, yeah. You love designing software? He goes, yeah. I do it every day, day and night. And I said, show me what you can do. And he started engaging me. And at the end, when I came out, the mother said, well, did you talk some sense into him? Did you get him to finally do what I think he should be doing? And I said, no, I hired him.
Wow.
I hired him to do software development for me. Well, then I didn't see him for a number of years, and I was in Brisbane, Australia, and I was speaking there. And he and his mother were sitting in the front row of my thing, and he's now grown up. And I went over there and I came down off the stage and I shook his hand because I hadn't seen him in a while, and his mom. And she's winking at me. And she says, my son, he works for IBM. He developed software for IBM. And I said, interesting, you wanted him to stop doing the thing he loved doing, but the truth is he loved doing it. Now, I'm not saying everybody needs to be doing video games, but in his case, he found his mission and he didn't let anything stop him from it.
Why is it important not to be affected by other people's opinions?
Well, that which circulates the most usually has the least value. And, you know, the cheapest commodities on earth is people's opinions. So people can always project their opinions on you, and everybody's going to project their values onto you and expect you to do what they think is important in their values. But you have a unique set of values, a unique set of priorities in life. And so you have to give yourself permission to live according to your own if you want to build momentum. Because if you live by your lower values in your life, you'll devalue yourself. If you live by your highest values, you'll expand, empower yourself. So it's not about us living in other people's values. It's about us mastering the skill of living by our own highest values in a way that enhances and inspires and fulfills the other values. So we have the art of communicating what we love doing in terms of what other people's needs are. If we do, we get to do what we love, tap dance to work, and get to make a difference, and people will invest in us as a brand.
Yeah, it's true what you're saying. For example, if I want to write a book, and someone comes along and says to me, no, you're not smart, no, you're dumb, your brain can't do this, no one's going to read books, no one's going to buy books. And if I listen to the person, I'm not going to write my book. I'm not going to give my message to the world. But what happens if I don't listen to that person and I write my book? Now my book is in the shops. People are buying my book, they're reading my book, they're reading the message that I'm giving to them.
Well, if a person gives themselves permission to shine, not shrink, and live authentically, not by conformity, they have enormity, not conformity. And the thing is, they build momentum in their life, and then nothing can stop them. At first, you're obviously ridiculed and maybe violently opposed, and eventually, if you stay with something, you end up becoming honored. When I was in professional school and studying to be a doc, I had people, because I did really well in the classes, and I end up with hundreds sometimes on the test, and there was no curve, and so some people failed. And so they slipped my tires, they broke out my windows, they wrapped my apartment, they didn't want me there. And at first they ridiculed and kind of opposed me, but I didn't give up, I just stayed with it. I went there for school, I didn't go there to make it, you know, interference for anybody else, I just wanted to go to school. Well, they eventually let me place out of the classes. And then eventually, by the time I was about to graduate, I assisted the very people that were now, wanting to knock me down. They were the ones that I assisted at graduating and helped them, and they got to be students of mine. Now some of them are still students of mine. Wow. So first they'll ridicule you, they violently oppose you, they'll challenge you because you're making them have to face the truth of their own life. And you're making them have to be great. And I'd rather help make people great than subordinate to somebody who's not willing to be.
It's also important to listen to those people who's giving you positive feedback, the ones that are supporting you to do whatever you want to achieve in life.
Well, you need to have both. A quality coach will give you both sides. They'll give you support and challenge to keep you refined and to help you master your life. So you need both, but you need to have somebody that you honor and respect to give you that feedback, to make sure that they really care and are guiding you according to the greatness that you have, not just the projection of their own thing to make them feel better about themselves.
Could you tell us how to achieve goals when things look impossible?
Well, if you're setting a goal that is truly aligned with what's most meaningful and most important in your life, you won't let anything on the outer world stop you. You'll see everything on the way, not in the way, and you'll see it as feedback, not as frustration, futility, or fear. So if you're setting a goal and you're letting something on the outside stop you, it's obviously not high enough on your goals to really pursue and make a commitment to. So you need to make sure that you don't waste your time on goals that aren't really meaningful, because you'll train yourself to this kind of self-defeat. But it's not what happens on the outside that matters, it's how much you want it on the inside. Because if you see it in your mind's eye and hold it in your mind's eye, you will perceive things on the way, not in the way. And you'll go, whatever happens, it's giving me feedback to let me know how to refine my skills and my actions to get me that outcome. Something that's really, 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 really important to you, you don't stop. You don't give up on. You don't let anything stop you.
Yeah.
You know, I had a dream to overcome my reading problems when I was a teenager. And I didn't know how to do that at first. But I sat there with a dictionary and I decided I was going to memorize 30 words a day, the spelling, the pronunciation, and how to use it in a sentence and the meaning. And with the help of my mom, we worked on 30 words a day until my vocabulary was strong enough, until I was able to read and actually excel. So I just did little baby steps to make big dreams.
Yeah.
You know, if you build momentum like a domino, a little domino can move a bigger domino, can move a bigger domino, and one little domino can eventually knock down a building. So if we stay with something and do little baby action steps long enough, piggy banks become piggy banks.
Yeah. If you want to achieve a goal, nothing can stop you.
Exactly. Yeah. If it's truly, sincerely inspiring to you, you don't want goals that come from the outside. You want goals that come from the heart inside.
Yeah.
I said in The Secret many years ago, when the voice and the vision on the inside is louder than all opinions on the outside, you begin to master your life.
See, many people, they don't have a purpose. They don't believe in themselves. They're not hungry enough to achieve goals. For example, dogs. Dogs are waiting to be fed. They are hungry for food. That's what many people should do. They should be hungry to achieve goals. If it don't look impossible, do different ways. That way doesn't work. That way doesn't work. Make a new way. Don't give up.
When the why is big enough, the hows take care of themselves. If we have a big enough reason for doing it, we find a way. That's why it's so important to focus on what's highest on our priority, because that's where we have the biggest why to do things. That's where we'll actually realize our potential. And if we prioritize, if we fill our day with high priority actions that inspire us, we're more resilient, more adaptable, we're more profound and more effective in achievement. And we don't end up filling our day with things that inspire us. We build momentum. So yes, if we get up in the morning and ask, what are the highest priority actions we can do today that can fulfill what's most meaningful to us? We build a habit of achievement.
How important is the communication between parents and kids?
I think it's fulfilling to be able to articulate what each has inside their heart to the other individual. But our articulation comes from respecting the other individual to see what their values are and honoring what your highest values are and articulating what you would love to do in terms of their values. Sometimes parents assume, because they're older and mature and they've had some experience, they assume that they know best and they know what the values need to be. In some cases, that is backfires. My advice is to, as a parent, to take and find out what the values of the young man or woman is, the child is, and find out what exactly is most important to them, and articulate what you know will be valuable to them and what will be important to them, and what you believe is valuable, and project it not as an autocratic authority, but to communicate it in a way where they get their values met by you getting them to do what you want. If I go to my daughter, for instance, who I know loves fashion, and she's loved fashion from very young, and I talk in terms of what I would like her to do will help her in her fashion career, she'll be receptive to it and be honored. But if I just project what I think is important on her and neglect her values, I will get resistance and I'll create the behavior that we'll label. So it's wise to basically care enough about another individual to communicate what you value in terms of what they value. And I believe that young people and adults are perfectly capable of mastering that skill. I train people on that. I've seen it happen and it makes a huge difference. So I think that what that does is it enhances. And I think every child loves its parents and every parent loves his child. And deep inside, they want that communion. So the mastery of that skill, I think, is an essential thing. And in my opinion, it would be wise to teach that in schools.
Yeah, parents, if they find out what their child loves, if they like to do sports, speaking, they will help them, to achieve what they want.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I knew when my daughter went on to professional school for fashion and has her own fashion line. When she was young, she was walking around with clothes on and putting wardrobes together. So it was obvious what she wanted to do. And she liked shopping too. So it's better to find out what they spontaneously love to do than try to put them into a box about what you think they should do. That backfires.
Yeah, my communication between my family, it's good. Every time I finish school, my parents ask me, how was your day? And I said, it was going good. If I need help, for example, like homework, I ask them, they help me. If I need help with other things, I ask them. However, other kids, they don't have a really good communication between the parents. They're not on the same page as them. Parents should respect kids, and kids should also respect parents.
Well, to the degree that we can articulate what is important to us in terms of what's important to our loved ones is the degree that we receive the respect.
Yeah.
So it's an art. And some people have more skills at that initially, but everybody has the capacity to learn and train in that.
Would you like to add anything before we finish the interview?
Yeah, I would. I'm assuming that everybody who's listening is a teenager.
Yeah.
So you want to give yourself permission to do something extraordinary on the planet. You want to give yourself permission to be you.
Yeah.
And don't let the peer pressure of any other human being stop you from being you. If you know in your heart you really, 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 really are called to do something, then don't let any human being on the face of the earth stop you from doing that. I was speaking in Calgary, Canada, to a group of 5 to 12-year-old young children, and almost to teens. And there was a 12-year-old girl there that I just went around the room and asked, what is it your dream? What's your dream? What do you would love to do? And people were saying it. Some were sports, some were fashion, some were movies, this and that, companies. But this young girl, is angelic, looked at me with a very sincerity and says, I really, really, really intend to be a great actress. And I looked at her and I could sense that she was sincere. It wasn't just a fantasy. I looked and I got a tear in my eye and I said, don't let any human being, no matter who they are, interfere with that vision. Because when the voice and the vision on the inside is louder than opinions on the outside, you get it. So don't let anybody stop you from that vision. Give yourself permission to do that and to do whatever it takes to do that. Train, study, whatever it takes. Well, she cried. She got teary-eyed with me. And afterward, her mother was there and she came up to me and she says, that really made a difference to say that. 3 weeks later, I gave him my email. 3 weeks later, she got in a movie. She got an opportunity to be in a movie. It wasn't a major playing position, but she got in a movie, and that catalyzed a momentum-building pursuit that's unstoppable. So give yourself permission to go after what you really want. And no matter what you've done or not done, just know you're still worthy of love. So don't build yourself up and beat yourself up and exaggerate or minimize yourself. Just be yourself. That's where the most love is going to come, and that's where you're going to get the most respect. Because you don't have to get rid of any part of yourself to love yourself. You don't have to add something to yourself to love yourself. You just got to be yourself. So give yourself permission to be you. That's the message I think we all can benefit by, no matter what age.
Yeah, follow your dreams. No one can stop you.
Exactly.
I just want to say it's been an honor and it's been a pleasure to interview you and talk to you. I'm really grateful for this moment. Thank you for being on my show.
Well, thank you for having me on your show. This is very inspiring to be on your show, so thank you.
Now, every time I finish a video, I do my secret brand. And what that is, I do boom. So I was wondering if it would be okay if you could do that with me.
Absolutely.
Okay, ready?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1, boom.
Boom.